Hey, what up everyone, this is MandoAllDay back with another video, and in this video I'll be doing a build guide video for Angela. I'll be going over the artifacts that use medallion insignia, as well as go over the powers, talents, and traits, the hero synergies, and at the very end give you some tips and pointers as far as I was able to pass Cosmic Trial without using affinity points. So once again, this is my build guide video for Angela, so let's get right into it. First thing are the artifacts. So the first artifact is White Suit Jacket. I'm using this for the health increase, +2 durability, and physical damage rating. Overall, this is a really good artifact for her because it gives her all great stats, which is health, +2 durability, and physical damage. And her main attributes are durability and speed, so having that +2 durability is very beneficial. So I think this is probably one of her best artifacts for Angela. Next is Lizard's Formula. When you critically hit, regenerate 100 health and 5 spirit, and also 2, this increases your attack speed by 10%, damage rating increase, and +2 speed. So overall, this is another good artifact that I think is really good for her because it increases your damage rating and attack speed, and you get that +2 speed. Then for Medallion, I'm using Scroll Defender's Medallion. I'm using this for when you critically hit. This increases your health, +1 durability and deflect rating, but when you hit with a melee power, increase your dodge rating, and when you hit with the physical power, increase your defense rating. And when you activate both, you gain +2 strength. The +2 strength is relevant because your main attributes is not strength, it's durability and speed. But again, overall this is pretty good. Next is Hyde's Formula. I'm using this for the brutal damage rating, brutal strike rating, and health increase, but also 2, when you use a medkit. Inject yourself with Hyde's Formula, which grants you damage rating increase, defense increase, and health regeneration for 30 second cooldown when you use a medkit. So I'm mainly using this honestly for the brutal strike and brutal damage, especially the brutal damage because 2 of her powers actually brutally strike. There's a 100% chance of a brutal strike, so having the brutal damage rating increase is really good. Next is Black Cat's Advanced Grappling Hook. I'm using this for the critical hit rating, dodge rating, and damage to bosses, +4 speed and damage rating increase to movement powers. Overall, this is a pretty decent artifact, especially with a +4 speed, but also 2, the damage rating to bosses and critical hit rating is really good too. And for the Forge, 800 defense, and I have Blessing of Lady of the Sword. This grants me physical damage rating, defense rating increase, damage rating to melee powers, +20 spirit, and regenerate 20 health when you hit an enemy. So it's a pretty good blessing so far. Now for the legendary, I'm using Savage Axe. Now do keep in mind this is an item grade 80, so keep that in mind. So I'm using this for the physical damage rating, critical hit rating, brutal strike, and brutal damage rating. For the ring, Industrial Seating Ring, I'm using this for the critical damage rating increase, attack speed increase to melee powers. When you hit with a melee power, you gain 172 damage rating for 10 seconds. Critical hit rating to melee attacks, and health increase. Now for slots 1 through 5, I use 1 through 4 her cosmic, and then slot 5 is her uniques. All her uniques are really good. I would advise using her uniques, and then I believe it's slot 3, which I would probably use something else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you can use all her uniques. But for slot, I think it's 3. I can't remember, but for slot 3. Don't use her uniques, it's not that great. I would use something else. But this is what I use for my Cosmic Trial video. Slots 1 through 4 Cosmic, and then the 5th slot is unique. For the costume, I'm using Angela 1602 costume. For the Catalyst, I have it to where I gain 150 health when you defeat an enemy, gain 418 health per hit, damage rating to melee powers increase, +3 durability. In Cosmic is gain a damage shield equal to 50% of your maximum health when you use a medkit. Crafted affixes, critical damage rating, as always, mystical bonus, 10% chance when you hit to regenerate 500 health, or when you are hit, excuse me, and 1000 defense rating. Insignia, I'm using Insignia of Eric O'Grady. I'm using this for when you critically hit, you and your allies gain 294 damage rating, which is okay in Aurora. But this also grants me spirit increase and brutal strike rating. So this is probably not the best insignia. I might use something else. I'm not too sure. But for right now, for the time being, it'll do. And then for Flourish, Mystical Mandala. So I'll show you what it looks like. I think it looks awesome, in my opinion. For the pet, I have it to where I increase my base health by 4%, plus 5% rare item find, plus 2% critical damage. Shush. When you dodge an attack, gain 4% damage rating and 4% brutal damage rating for 12 seconds, which is really good because, as I mentioned, 2 overpowers do critical hit chance. Critical brutal strike chance, 100%. So having the brutal damage rating increase is really good, and this grants me +2 durability. For team up, I am just using Jessica Jones. All right, for the powers, top to bottom, left to right. Rending Blades, Whirling Wrath, Know My Name and Weep, Angelic Smite, Nothing for Nothing, Stunning Anchors, and Anchors, whatever. That's it. Infinity Points, as mentioned before, none were used. Hero Synergies. Angela for the air damage increase +1 speed, Black Panther for the move speed and melee power damage increase, Colossus for the health increase and physical damage rating increase, Doctor Doom for the signature power damage increase, Elektra for the physical damage and damage to bosses increase, Luke Cage for the defense rating increase and physical damage rating increase, Moon Knight for the critical hit rating multiplier to physical powers, Nightcrawler for the melee damage increase, Squirrel Girl for the damage rating to bosses, and then Wolverine for the brutal strike and brutal damage. Now for the talents and traits. First row is Relentless. I'm using this for when you activate Sword and Axe powers, you have a 25% chance to automatically activate Writhing Ribbons. So basically what this talent is, when I activate Sword and Axe, which is pretty much all my powers, there's a 25% chance to activate automatically Writhing Ribbons, which is this power right here. And I chose this because I wanted to activate that power automatically, because it does pretty good damage as is, but also causes bleeding and healing too. So it does damage over time due to the bleeding, and also does healing too. You regenerate health. So overall, having that activated automatically, which is good because it allows me to have more powers or different powers in my hotbar. So again, I'm using this talent for that particular reason, so I can activate it automatically. And since the 25% chance, I have all my powers are all either Sword or Axe, so the likelihood of me activating this talent and activating Writhing Ribbons is pretty high. So yeah. Second row is Wrath of a Goddess. So Rage of Asgard gains the following effects: critical hit chance increased by 20%, base damage 20%, attack and move speed 20%, and Heaven's Wrath cost -10%. So what this does is, when you are Rage of Asgard, essentially as it is right now, I have 170, but once I get reaching my max out, I don't want to say transform, but I go into Rage of Asgard. And so with this talent, it increases my critical hit chance, base damage, and attack and move speed by 20% when I enter Rage of Asgard. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So for right now, I'm going to regenerate my spirit, and then once it regenerates to 1093, which is essentially 100%, you're going to notice that my powers they're going to be outlined in green, and you're also going to notice that my wrath is going to be decreasing. So I'll show you what it looks like here. There we go. So now you notice that, and I was going down, and it's all green. So what this does is it increases my base damage by 20%, and if it goes down all the way down to 0, you're going to see that my damage went down to 2300. So essentially what this talent does, again, increases your critical hit chance, base damage, and attack and move speed by 20% when you enter Rage of Asgard. Hence why I chose this talent, because I want to increase those stats. Third row is Ribbon Warrior. When you activate a ribbon power, axe powers gain 10% critical chance. When you activate an axe power, sword powers gain 10% critical chance. When you activate a sword power, ribbon powers gain 10% critical hit chance. So basically what this talent does is increases your critical hit chance when you activate one power and activates another. When you activate one type of power, another power gets a 10% critical hit chance. So I'm using this because, as I mentioned, I'm using axe and sword, so I'm using both, meaning that I'm always going to increase my critical hit chance. But also too, according to this first talent, and as I mentioned, majority of my powers are either sword or axe, so the likelihood of me activating Withering Ribbons, which is the ribbon power, is most likely. So in combination with the first row talent and this one right here, I'm essentially going to be getting a critical hit chance for 4 seconds. So hence why I chose this, because I'm always going to get that critical hit chance. So yeah. For the fourth row is Guardian Ribbons. Dealing damage with any ribbon power will apply bleed effects of Withering Ribbons. And then passive effect, projectile reflect chance 5% and damage absorbed 10%. So essentially what this is, and I'm mainly using this for the passive, which is a projectile reflect chance by 5% and then damage absorbed 10%. That's the main reason I'm using this. And I say this because I'm not using any ribbon power at all. None of my powers here are ribbon in my hotbar, so I use this just mainly for the passive. Then for the fifth row is Mastery of Syphilis. So Nothing for Nothing can be activated an additional time, and all activations will use a sword portion. So what this means is, with this talent, well, let's actually break down signature really quick. So when you activate signature, there's 3 charges. So the first 2 charges trigger a movement and sword sweep, which does physical damage, quite substantial, but happens to regenerate 5%. Okay. And then the final activation triggers a healing ribbon and wielded axe strike, which does quite a bit of damage. Health regenerate 25% of your maximum health, and damage bonus is increased by 40% versus bleeding. So what does this do? What does this all mean? With this talent is that when you have this talent here, Nothing for Nothing can be activated an additional time, meaning you can activate it another time, another. Basically have 4 tries. But all activations use a sword portion, which again, if you read this clearly, sword sweep, or the sword, I guess triggers, I guess you can say, you regenerate 5% of your max wrath on hit, and also 2, you do quite a bit of damage. So that's kind of the downside of it, is that you don't gain the healing, because if I didn't have this talent, my final activation of activation of a signature triggers healing, which again, it regenerates my health. But with this talent, I get an additional time to use the signature, but all activations use sword, which basically I don't get any healing. I just regenerate 5% of my max wrath on hit, which is a spirit. So it's kind of the downside, but again, having the extra activation chance is really, really good, because the signature does quite a bit of damage. So yeah. Those are the talents. Now let's get into the rotation. The rotation is really, really simple. So just to get a couple things out the way, there you go. That's my. The first one is Rending Blade is my main spender. It does quite a bit of damage, but the damage bonus is increased by 40% versus bleeding enemies. So which is really good, because this is an axe power, so her main spender is an axe power. So if you read the first talent, which is if you use sword and axe powers, 25% chance to automatically activate Withering Ribbons, which causes bleed. So if you combine these things right here, that means that the damage of this is increased by 40% when I activate Withering Ribbons automatically. So yeah, so that's my main spender, Rending Blades. Second is Know My Name, and I like this because it generates Evan's Wrath generated 100, which is good, and it's quite a bit of damage. It does about 38,000, which is quite a lot. But yeah, so I'll show you what it looks like. And it generates 100 Wrath, which is good. The next one is Iker's Wrath. It does quite a bit of damage, but the good thing about this is the brutal strike chance is 100%. Okay, it does 100%. So, and also 2. It does Execute, which is basically 1% damage per 1% of target's missing health versus bleeding enemies. So it's kind of the downside is that you have to have enemies bleeding. But again, none of my powers cause bleeding except for Withering Ribbons, because according to this talent, which I don't want to read it to say it again, but yeah. But I'm using Iker's Wrath for the Brutal Strike chance 100%, which is really, really good. Okay, that's that. The next power is Stunning Anchors. It's a range. It's axe. Again, does decent damage, but the Brutal Strike chance is 100%. And it's very similar to Iker, which is 1% damage per 1% of target's missing health versus bleeding enemies. And it also causes stun for 3 seconds. So again, this power is really good too, because it does Brutal Strike chance 100%. Next one is Angelic Smite. Pretty good damage as it is. It's knockdown duration 2 seconds, which is a whole lot. But the good thing is that it doesn't cost anything for the Wrath. Keep that in mind, and I'll explain that in a bit. And it's a cooldown 8 seconds, which is irrelevant. And then Whirling Wrath, quite a bit of damage. The damage is increased by 40% versus bleeding, and it has 3 charges. I'm sorry. So that's that. So my rotation, it's really simple. Usually the first thing I do is activate Angelic Smite. That way I can get into close range to enemies, and from there do my rotation, which is Know My Name, Iker's Wrath, Stunning Ikers. So I'll show you what it looks like. So again, it's Angelic Smite just to go into enemies close range, and then just do the rotation, which is Know My Name, Iker, or Know My Name, Wrath, and Stunning. So it looks something like this. And then Main Spender. And then from there I can just reactivate it again. Know My Name, Wrath, Stunning. Then just do Main Spender again. And if I want, I can activate Angelic Smite again. It's up to me, but and then we do it again. Know My Name, Wrath, Stunning. Okay, that's that. Now, in terms of when to use Whirling Wrath, personally, I don't really use it that much. I mean, I do use it, don't get me wrong, but I would say for Whirling Wrath, I would only use it whenever you have enemies all around you and you try to like crowd control. This is good because it does quite a bit of damage, and also too, it does a lot of area damage. So, just to give an example, if let's say you're doing Cosmic Trial and you start and you get the Hydra agents and they're all scattered like this, I would say start off with Angelic Smite and then do Whirling Wrath. That way you can do area. So I'm just going to show you guys. I'm going to do Angelic Smite right in the middle and then activate Whirling Wrath. And then rotation. 1, 2, 3, Whirling Wrath, and then Main Spender. Just like so. So I'll show you one more time. It's very simple. Scenario number 1, if it's a single target, Angelic Smite, take a close range to the enemy, and then just do the rotation. Know My Name, Wrath, Stunning Anchors, and then if you want to do it again, but the key thing is Angelic Smite, always use it just to get into enemies close range. So here we go. And Main Spender. And I can do it again. And then Main Spender. And if I want, I can definitely use Whirling if I want to. You don't have to, but I usually use Whirling just to whenever I have a lot of enemies around me, and and I have when I'm trying to crowd control. Okay, that's that. So that's that. So the next thing is going over this whole Wrath and and what is it called? It's Rage of Asgard. So my advice is this: when you regenerate Rage of Asgard, like right now it's regenerating, once it gets 100%, I would say utilize Iker's Wrath. Actually, let me explain to you how this works. So it sounds confusing. Trust me, it's not. It'll make sense in a bit. So what happens is you're like just like what it is right now. I'm regenerating Wrath. So once it gets 100%. Once it gets 100% and then my powers are outlining green, what that happens is each power here that I have consumes a certain amount of Heaven's Wrath whenever I'm in Rage Asgard. So for instance, if I had, just to give you an example, make it easier on myself, if I have, let's just say I had 1,000 Heaven's Wrath, and once it gets to 1,000 and my powers are outlining green, that means I have 1,000. And so if I were to activate, for instance, Iker, this consumes 300 Wrath to instantly refresh. So basically, what this means is, if I regenerate my Heaven's Wrath to 100%, right? And then just say I have 1,000, and if as soon as I activate Iker's Wrath, it consumes 300 of that. So it means I'll have like less than 700. But the good thing is that I can always use this power again. So I'll show you what it means. So right now I'm going to do, I'm going to regenerate Heaven's Wrath, and once it outlines green, I'm going to activate Iker, and you're going to notice that it's going to consume the spirit, but that means I can activate it again. It sounds confusing, but it'll make sense. So here we go. So let it go 100%, and I'm going to use, see what it is right there. I'm going to use it, and then I can use it again, and I can use it one more time. See that? So basically, what this does, when you get a Rage of Asgard, essentially some of these powers consume your spirit, I guess you can say. But the good thing is that it refreshes it, so you don't have to have a wait 8 seconds for a cooldown. It just instantaneously refreshes, so you can activate it again. So my advice is, for once you get 100% Heaven's Wrath and your Rage of Asgard, your critical hit chance is increased by 20%, base damage is increased, and attack and move speed. What I usually do, I guess you can say is my second rotation, is I activate Wrath as much as possible, because, well, 1, it does quite a bit of damage, and 2, it does brutal strike chance 100%. So and with this talent here, which increases my critical hit chance by 20%, again, it's just you're gonna do a lot of damage. So that's the way, if you watch my Cosmic Trial video, once it gets 100%, Heaven's Wrath, and I'm into Rage of Asgard, I mainly use Anchor's Wrath, because again, it does brutal strike chance and it does quite a bit of damage. So I'll do my rotation again, just to generate here. And then once it gets 100%, I'm going to use Hiker's Wrath. Then look at that, I can use it 4 times, and again, each time is a brutal strike chance, 100%. So meaning I'm always going to brutal damage. Hence why I suggested I use Hyde's formula, because of the brutal damage rating increase, and that's really it. So I would say try to use artifacts that increase your brutal damage, because with the combination of Rage of Asgard and combination of this power, which is Iker, which is a brutal strike chance 100%, when you have a lot of brutal damage rating and you activate this power, you're going to just do a lot of damage, and you can use it 4 times. You just saw it right now. Now keep in mind, this is only having 1,000. Now if I were to use infinity points, let's just say, I'm trying to figure out which is the one. Let's just say I increase my my Wrath by, let's just do, what the heck, let's just say we had 200. So now we have 1,200. And let's just do the rotation really quick. Let's just generate the Wrath here. So let this here. I want to show you how many times you can use Iker when you have extra spirit. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4. But again, you get the point though, what I'm trying to say. Again, if I had more points here into this deep thought, which increases your spirit, the more time you can use your Iker's Wrath, which does brutal strike chance. And if you add that one artifact that grants you like so much brutal damage, you can do a lot of damage. So again, I'm just explaining to you guys. That's I guess you can say my second rotation, which is once I get 100% Spirit or Heaven's Wrath and get it into Rage of Asgard, I just use Iker because I want to get that brutal strike chance. And yeah, so that's that. I'm trying to think of, that's really it, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think of anything else. That's really it, to be honest with you. Again, very simple, as I mentioned in my Cosmic Trial video. Pretty simple rotation, simple build, but to me, with this, I think, post biggest update ever, Angela, I think, is really strong, and she has potential to be, end game content. So yeah, this is my build guide for Angela. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Any requests for certain characters, leave it in the comment section below. I know some of you requested Luke Cage. I am working on that. He's kind of like, but I'll get him another shot. Also, too, some of you suggested Mr. Fantastic, because he's basically OP. I've seen his gameplay with other people play with him, and he is, from what I've seen, he's very, very OP. But I'll give him a shot. Definitely check him out this weekend. And yeah, again, any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Any requests for certain characters, leave it in the comment section below. If this video was helpful for you guys, and this guide was helpful for you guys, for you to start playing with Angela, leave it in the comment section below. I'm always interested to see if you guys are enjoying these videos and the build guides. And if you want to keep up to date with my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. Not only does it help the channel grow, but also mean a lot to me as well. And yeah, again, this is my build guide for Angela. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So until the next one, bye bye.